Good morning, everyone. Today is February 9th, 2022. We're excited to do our CPA, California Placement Association's monthly webinars that we do every 2 weeks. We are honored here to present Ms. Vilma Brager. She is wonderful. She is part of an HR network with not only a SHRM expert, but along with many organizations throughout the Inland Empire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and welcome a couple of our board members really quick that are on here. If you can please just introduce yourself and say hello to everybody that's here today.
Oh, hey, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for coming. I'm Denise Crawford from Bakersfield College. I'm on the CPA board, and welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'll go next. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rosa Cencia with Mount San Antonio College. I am on the board as the co-educational rep along with Shelley. Welcome.
And hello, everybody. I'm Shelley. So Rose already introduced me, but yes, we are co-chairs and we're thrilled. I'm new to this organization, and I just want to tell you that it's such a wonderful organization with with multiple dedication, commitment, really good group of people to work with who really care about, getting information out there. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you. And who else do we have here? Do we have any other board members online today?
Hi, my name is Greg Friedman. I'm the California Placement Association from the Northern region. I believe I am co-employer person. Yes, employer relations. Sorry, I'm a little flustered. I apologize.
No, thank you. He was taking care of a lot of the behind the scenes here today. I'm Rosalinda Rivas. I am president and honored to serve among such amazing talent here from all over the state of California. So I want to welcome everybody here. I want to welcome Ms. Vilma Brager. I want to apologize to all of you with our little Zoom link glitch, but thank you for being adaptable, flexible, and committed to being part of today's event. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Vilma Brager, who will be telling us about the great ways to be able to do in 90 days an interview and retain a successful job retention within the first 90 days. So Vilma, they're all yours.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. Of course, I do have a presentation, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me just a moment here. And the way I like to provide information is really interactive. So by all means, utilize the chat. Maybe we'll stop at some point to have open questions. I truly believe that interaction really helps me learn a lot. And so today it shows an approach that I think you want to feel comfortable with. If you have any questions or clarification is needed for something I might say, feel free to either put it on the chat box and we'll check it out. Okay. So yes, I am the managing principal actually of Inside HR Consulting, and we do offer HR services support to small, mid-sized, and large organizations. And today's presentation, before we get moving forward, just a little bit of a disclaimer, right? The information I'm going to share with everybody here today is what I would really recommend, not only an employer, a client, anybody seeking out my advice. I do a lot of mentoring as well. And this is things that I have learned and I have recommended to all those I just listed, right? Things really depends on the circumstances, but I just want to give you a general approach, how to have a successful interviewing process and a very successful 90-day for both perspective, from an employer perspective, as well as the employee experience perspective as well, okay? So this is just a general disclaimer. This does not constitute a client relationship with Insight. It is just sharing best practices. And like Rosalinda just said a little bit ago, I'm not going to go too much in there, but 20 plus years in the human resources field. I love Inland Empire. I've been in Inland Empire for many, many years, supporting quite a lot of different communities within the Inland Empire. I do belong to the Inland Empire SHRM chapter. I'm currently the president of that chapter, but I also am very involved with the National Latina Businesswoman, very involved with the EAC, different type of chambers throughout the state, different colleges as well. I started my career as a recruiter when I moved into the HR field. And part of that aspect of recruiting had a lot to do to meeting and greeting organizations that could help the company I was working for to attract candidates, right? So again, an employer very dear to me. So I'm thankful to be here and be able to share information with you. Besides that, I am a certified HR professional. I currently have 4 different types of certification in the HR field, 2 from SHRM and 2 from PHRCA. I do have the PHR California. I've been told that the certification is just about a bar exam, and I can tell you, yes, very crucial, very stressful, but where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm thankful that I've been able to have that opportunity. So today, really, I wanted to put something together from both sides of things, not only from an HR perspective, but I'm talking about more of the employer as well as the employee experiences based on my knowledge, experience that I've had, and hopefully walking away with some tips that will help those that you are partnering with or help you individually or within the organization that you're with. So I hope to provide you some insights on that. So I definitely want to start with employers. I assist quite a lot of mid-sized employers, generally between 50 to 250 employees. And, when you have a company that size, a lot of the times they don't have a lot of resources available, such as maybe a marketing division or things like that. The encouragement in the last year and a half has really been about assessing you as a company. What are you offering anybody coming into the organization? How are you really attracting talent to your organization? I also remind them to reassess what are the values of the company? What are the values that you are practicing on a day-to-day operation? Yes, you should have a mission and you should have a vision, but the values are also very, very important. And they can change. So we've had a lot of change in the last 2 years. So I ask employers and owners, business owners, CEOs, reassess everything, because we are living in a very different environment. And what was okay 2-4 years ago is a totally different approach now, right? So, and things do change. Somebody's value may change based on experience. The mission and the vision of organization could definitely change based on the economy, based on what they've been experienced, what they have made changes to process improve, whatever they have in the operations, right? So again, a lot of the guidance I'm giving is not just for the interviewee, it's about the company, right? I encourage them to provide as much information as you can, be honest and upfront. Every time you're doing a posting, every time you're doing a phone screening, every time you're doing a face-to-face meeting, you really need to voice out, right? What is the company all about? What is the position all about? What can you expect in this type of work environment? What does the future look like? And it's okay to sound vulnerable or maybe like not for sure, but I think that honesty translates to already building a trust with that candidate. And that's definitely something that's going to set you apart, okay? You also want to make sure you have clear steps in the hiring process. And boy, has that changed, right? I think before the pandemic started, everything was in person. And then the remote aspect of things came alive. And now we have more of a hybrid situation. So things has to change. Your steps in the hiring process, onboarding process has to change because things are not the way they used to be. So what are some of the changes that you're making? Make sure that everybody is aware of the change internally and externally. The candidate should be aware, what are the hiring steps for my company? I got nothing to hide, so people know exactly what to expect. Have a very clear assessment of the application process and the systems that you're using. And what I mean in that, yes, you may have an applicant tracking system, but there's other different kinds of systems you need to keep up with. Perhaps the old system you have in place is not giving you a lot of opportunities. You need to reassess what you're trying to get from that system and maybe make some changes. Nowadays, time is of the essence, right? It is a very much a candidate market out there. if you have a high qualified candidate, time is of the essence. More than likely, they have multiple selections to options to have. And so if your practice was, yeah, we'll get back to you in a week, perhaps you need to have a turnaround of 2 days, because that week somebody else can take advantage of that time frame, and they'll be very responsive to that candidate. One thing that I always encourage both parties: do not ghost an applicant. If you have an actual applicant, somebody that actually submitted an application, you don't have to screen them. Let's just say they didn't meet your qualification, send them a response. Now, if you go through the process of screening them, they didn't pass their screen, send them an update. If you interviewed and they didn't pass your interview, send them an update. Yes, it's time consuming, but it's the right thing to do. I think people need to be aware where they stand, because they do have other options. And you don't want anybody to lose an opportunity because of timing. And you don't want to lose that candidate. If it's the candidate that you really want, make the decision quickly. Let them know whether you're interested or not interested. So time is of the essence. Please do not ghost your applicants, and applicants do not ghost either the company that you're considering to join. So now let's talk a little bit about job searching. There's a little bit of a difference between job searching and you're searching for a career. Either way, I think you can have the same approach, but it's a decision of the individual what they're looking for, right? I think the individual really needs to be clear as to what do they want to do, what is the circumstances right now, and what is the kind of work I want to do. So, for example, yes, I'm in human resources. I know quite a few human resource professionals that today, they do not want to be in a very high demand HR position, because it's been kind of crazy in the last 2 years. So quite a lot of HR folks, just about everybody, has been really stressed out. They're looking out for something that is a little more functional. They love recruiting or they love benefits. They are looking to step down. And a lot of the times, if they go out and, put their applications for maybe from an HR manager level to an HR generalist level, they get passed on, right? It's like, no, they're overqualified. But it is a different approach to applications and hiring companies, because you just never know the reason why somebody is doing that until you talk to them. So again, understanding what you want to do and have a good opportunity to assess what's the values you want for the next opportunity. So have a clear knowledge of the type of work that you want. That can also be, I was working full-time, I was salary working 60 hours a week. Now I want part-time, or I want flexible hours, or maybe I just want the weekends to work, right? Understand what you really are seeking. It's going to do a lot of benefit for you when you do job searching, when you're interviewing as well. Update your resume, right? In the resume, we tend to look at work experience, but there's a lot of details that is missing when somebody's just focusing on the experience themselves. I always encourage folks to have a little personal information, and I'm not talking I'm married or anything like that, but perhaps in the profession that you're in the job that you want to engage, you want to put some of the reasons why you would be qualified for that role, right? So it's great to have job experience. It's great to have a summary of the job experience, but your objective could be a little bit different. I think that's an opportunity to reassess what that looks like and update your resume. And I also encourage folks to have multiple types of resumes, right? If I'm open to full-time, if I'm open to part-time, I'm going to encourage to have 2 different kinds of resumes, right? Because one is for application for part-time positions, another one is for a full-time position. So again, it is a great opportunity to encourage candidates to really assess their values, where they're at today, what do they actually want for their next opportunity. Update your resume, not just on your experience, but definitely a summary as to why you're qualified for that position is a must. And I honestly think a cover letter makes a lot of sense. It might be a little bit old school, but it definitely works. A cover letter gets a lot more knowledge about the candidate, right? Like, why do I want this position? especially if you transition into a different field or, something totally different than what your work experience was, right? This is an opportunity on that cover letter to let the hiring manager or whoever is reviewing your resume take a closer look as to why you're applying for this position. Now you're applying for the job. Now you understand, what that looks like for you. And now you're going and research for the positions you want to apply for. So now you are applying. And again, I want you to be really true to yourself. Be who you are. Do not change for anybody. This is the opportunity to join the organization with what your needs and wants are. And it's the right time, because right now, that's the best match for an opportunity of a long-term relationship with the company, right? So search the company. So you put the application or you're searching and you find this amazing opportunity. Even before applying, you can Google the company. You'll find so much information, right? Do a lot of research, do a little and a lot. So go through your Google account, research the company, research the position. You can find a lot of insights in regards to what the company is all about, right? Utilize LinkedIn. I think a lot of companies are using LinkedIn to post their positions. They give you information about the company, and I think that's wonderful. Perhaps you know somebody that works at the company. I think it would be appropriate if you want to assess the environment of the company to reach out, let them know, hey, I'm applying for this position. Would you recommend, what's the work environment like? Is, do they live the values, right? Things like that. I think that's part of researching. Find insights about the company, right? You can find out if they have a high turnover. What's, the reason for the turnover? You can also find out what are some of the benefits they offer. Are they stable? Are they going through a merger and acquisition? And, quite a lot of great information is accessible at our fingertips nowadays. Now you submit for the position. I would always encourage people that are, especially if you're not employed, it can be very discouraged if you're applying every day for 10 hours a day, right? I think you should put a limitation on a day-to-day basis, whether you're unemployed or employed looking for another opportunity. I would say between an hour, 30 minutes to an hour in a full day, maybe twice a day during the time frame will give you some accessibility to relax, reassess, and go back into reapplying positions. I don't recommend 8 hours sitting down and just applying for roles, right? When you are applying, take the time to ensure that you fill out the information right. Most companies do not ask for a lot of details nowadays, which is good, because I would hate to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours filling out an online application. But be ready, right? Have your work experience available, the dates, your title names and things like that ready and available to you so you can have an easier way to submit an application. And I do encourage job seekers to keep track where they apply. And yes, that can be cumbersome, but it's very useful. So on a spreadsheet, just list the company name, the position that you're applying for, the date that you applied, and any other comments you want to make on that list, because you're going to go back to the list probably a couple of times, right? You don't want to reapply for the same position, obviously on the same day. It's just, we want to make sure that your time is really dedicated and useful, so you know exactly where you applied for and what roles you applied for, right? So again, at this, I think it makes sense. I would encourage a job seeker to do that, to maintain that. Not too much information, but at least some information so you have kind of a good understanding what you have applied for and when, right? I tell folks, please don't get discouraged. Yes, there's a lot of great opportunities online, right? I would say a lot of positions are posted online, but not all positions are posted online. So if there's opportunity for community events, network events, job fairs, virtual job fairs, utilize them, right? Utilize them. Be aware where they're at, how, if you can attend, because you may know somebody that knows somebody that is hiring, right? And they recommend you as a potential candidate. So those are some of the resources I don't see too many job seekers take advantage of. And a lot of the times job fairs are free, network events, you know, maybe minimal. Sometimes they're free too. So I think that opportunity is something that is missed many of the times. So obviously talk to your family. I have lots of companies that have referral programs because they're seeking candidates. And so they are very successful having referrals from their employees. They know somebody or their cousin knows somebody. So tell people that your job, you know, you're seeking for an employment, and let them know what kind of work you're looking for, right? And let them know there's no shame in saying, I'm looking for a job. I'm excited about this. This is what I see my career, my job to be. Any help you can give me, that'd be amazing. I would really appreciate it. Tell your family, tell your friends, colleagues, previous colleagues, right? Now, if you're working and you have colleagues, just be careful, right? Especially if you don't want your company to be aware that you're trying to leave or seeking other employment, right? But nevertheless, if you have family, you know, previous colleagues, friends, utilize them. Everybody knows somebody, and maybe that somebody knows somebody that is hiring, and it could be just down the street from you. Okay, so don't avoid those type of events because they're very useful. So you've been selected for an interview. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. I would encourage you to go ahead and research the company again, right? Nowadays, you know, many job seekers would apply to 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 different positions. You're getting called. You may forget what you found out about that company while you were applying. Go back and do more research, right? Be prepared. You know about the company when you have that interview. Get details, you know, is it a small company? Is it a large company? Is it an international company? You know, you might find out who the business owner is or how they started. They have a, you know, a story to tell. Are they stable? What is their product? How do they make their money? I think that's extremely useful information to prepare yourself for that interview, okay? Now, nowadays, a lot of virtual meetings are happening for those interviews. That's fantastic, fabulous. But if you are going to have a virtual meeting, just like today, just make sure that you're aware of your surrounding. You have an area where there will be very limited disruption, right? Always encourage to log in 5-10 minutes before your scheduled time. Prep yourself. Make sure that the video camera is working or the volume and audio is working and so on. So, you know, you can put like a little checklist, to be honest, to make sure you got everything down and ready for that meeting. Because that meeting, it's important, right? It's a great opportunity. So just keep that in mind. Find a location, again, free of distraction. You know, I'm very fortunate enough that I have an area here where I can close the door, but it's not the case for everybody, right? So if you have a general common area that you have to utilize, please make everybody aware what's happening, right? Ask for their help to provide less disruption or no disruption. Perhaps you need to decide, I probably can't take this at home. Do I know somebody where there would be okay for me to take that space for 30-40 minutes? Or can I go libraries, you know, they're open, or can I go to a Starbucks, right? Identify that in advance, be prepared for that, right? Because nowadays it could be a virtual meeting or an in-person meeting, okay? Now, let's just say you are having an in-person meeting. It's a face-to-face meeting. So again, same approach as virtual for the most part in doing the research, making sure you're there on time, be there earlier, right? If your appointment is at 4, then please be there about 3:45, 3:50, don't be late. Dress accordingly, find out, is there a dress code? It's okay when you're asked and invited to the interview if there is a dress code. Is there safety protocols I need to follow, right? For your organization with the pandemic going on, right? You need to be aware of what that looks like. Every company may be a little different. Make sure you have transportation is very important. If you say you're gonna be there at 4 p.m., you may not have your own transportation. You might depend on somebody for that transportation. Have a backup plan just in case, right? So my sister's gonna take me, but if, you know, things happen, life happens. And if that situation happens, then what's my backup plan? Maybe my husband can take me. Maybe I need to let him know to be on call just in case I need that help. So plan ahead, plan as much as you can to have and be prepared for that interview, whether it's virtual or in person. So during the interview, absolutely, you should ask questions. So during your research, right, there's some questions that come out of that research that you had, but also your own personal questions. It is an opportunity for you, the candidate, to interview the candidate in the company and interview who they are too, right? So if career advancement is extremely important to you, then find out what that looks like. In this position, what is the career opportunity? What is the steps for career progression? Have a good understanding of that. And I think those are all fair questions to have. If you're really looking at, look, I'm willing to do this job, but I'm not going to be paid $50 an hour for the rest of, for the next 5 years. I want to know, is there an opportunity for merit increases or periodic increases? What does that look like for this role? You also want to make sure you understand if there is benefits, right? What are they? And it's okay to even ask if you can have a copy of the benefits they provide, because you need to understand if there's a cost to you, the candidate. I think that's fair game. And if the company is, is open, they should have no problems providing that information to you. Perhaps before you leave, that could be a question to request. Can I get a copy of the benefits? Or if they tell you what is the benefit coverage, is there a cost for employees to participate, right? And then I will always encourage you to ask about training. Even as an HR professional, if I go into an HR role, I need to understand what is the training for that position, because every company has their processes, right? I know HR, but if I go to X company, I don't know the processes they have in place to intake a concern, or if there's a benefit question. So understanding what is the training look like for your role, it's a fair question. How long of a training is it? Is there opportunities to be retrained if I have if I don't understand something or the other? Have a really good understanding what the training process looks like for that position, for that company. Now, the employer, the company will ask you a question, that's a given. Obviously, they're going to go back to your work history. That's very normal. But they also are going to ask you, what is your commitment to this role? And this is where your values and assessments come into play, right? I see quite a lot of companies get really discouraged when they want somebody and they're about to extend the offer and the candidate is like, no, I just accepted another job. So if you are job searching, I think it's fair game to discuss, hey, listen, I am committed to this role, but I'm unemployed or I'm seeking opportunities to make that change quickly. So what does your timing look like, Mr. Employer? You're telling the employer, listen, it's important to me to get a job. So don't take too long to make decisions based on my status, right? But it's also the commitment that you have for this position. I like this position because it matches this, and that. I am looking for this, be true, be truthful. And ask, do you think that's a good match with your company? I think that's a fair question. And I think it's also very fair for the company to hear that. So they can also say, yes, absolutely, that is something we thrive in. And that's something that is very applicable here in our work environment. You're learning about the company, right, as well. Let them know what your future goal is too. If you are okay in this role for the next 3 years, as a matter of fact, my previous employer, they asked me, because career path was very important to me, what that looked like for me. I let them know for the next 3 years, I am not looking for that career path. I really want to concentrate on this role for at least 3 years. And it was fine. I knew that long-term, there's opportunities to grow. The company knew that, yeah, Vilma is available, but at this moment, she's not open to it. Not if I'm foreseeing another year before that promotion, I'm not ready. So again, it's okay to kind of have those discussions, both, right? The company and the candidate. I think it's very, very important. They want to get to know you and you want to get to know them. And them to me is the company. You want to hear about what are some of the positive takes as a company. I want to hear about their culture. I want to hear about how people enjoy working there or any struggles that there may be. And I think that's a good, honest conversation to have, because at the end of the day, it really is a partnership between employer and their employees to have a successful relationship, right? Ensure that you know what the company values are. Are they a match to yours, right? Company value could be, you know, I need to have a very steady job where I am going to be rewarded, right? So I would ask a company, do you have performance reviews? Do you have, how do you channel merit increases? How do you see the future of the company? What is the growth look like for this position? You know, you get the drift, I hope, right? But yes, it's an opportunity to understand what the company values are, and are they a match to my values as well, okay? Walk away knowing what the next steps are. Make sure you know, hey, I'm gonna get a call back within this week or next week. I'll be surprised if it's more than a week, but understand what that looks like. What is the hiring process? Is there a callback for an invitation for another virtual meeting or an in-person meeting? Do I need to bring any documentations, additional resumes, cover letters, or whatnot? Is there any assessments that I should be aware for the next step? You want to walk away with a pretty good understanding what that looks like for you. Don't walk away not knowing. You should know, ask what is the next step of the process, of the hiring process. And the company should let you know, we're going through reviews, but you should hear something back from us by next week, okay? During the interview process, as soon as you're done with the interview, update your list. That way you can keep track who you met with, maybe some good takeaways that you learn about the company, right? That list becomes really important because let's just say you have 3 opportunities at the same time. This is a good way to compare them, right? Also, it's a good opportunity for you to assess, did I ask all the questions I needed to ask? Because if not, then I make sure to ask on the next opportunity or ensure that I ask on the next interview for another company, right? Because that was important to me to know. Understanding what the next steps are. And again, it just goes back to comparing the opportunities. That list becomes very, very handy. Now you're asked for the next step. So you've been selected. You got that phone call back saying, hey, we want you to come and return and meet with such and such, right? That's awesome. Update your notes, your list again. Come prepared, be prepared. Understanding what does that look like? Am I meeting with one individual, with multiple individuals? At this point in time, do I need to provide documentation? Is back for some companies like DOT drivers and things like that would need to have a lot of this information prior to making a hiring decision or during the hiring decision. So be prepared, understanding if that role, what do I need to make sure I have when I'm meeting that next interviewer. And then out of that interview, you got a job offer. So congratulations, yeah, you made it. That's awesome. But before you sign the dotted line, please review the details, right? This is a great opportunity for you to really, really understand what the job offer is all about. Definitely know when the start date is. And let me tell you, there's flexibility when your start date is, right? Now, there's a lot of companies that have to wait for backgrounds, have to wait for credit checks and things like that. But let's just say 2 weeks, it's good. They may ask you to join in 2 weeks. However, you can't. 3 weeks works better for you because you had another commitment perhaps, or some volunteer work. Have that conversation, right? This is a great time to have that conversation. And both company and the employee and the company should be flexible enough to say, okay, this would work really good. So let's go ahead and change the start date, right? Understand if they listed the benefits, the eligibility of those benefits. Make sure you have a really great grasp on that job offer before you sign it. And it is okay to take it back with you. Can I give this back to you tomorrow? Okay, that's fine. That is not a problem. Most companies say, well, that's okay. And either way, if you need that extra time, ask and stick to it, right? If I'm going to say I'm going to get back to you in 24 hours, then please get back to that company within 24 hours. Let them know I'm going to pass, or I am absolutely thrilled to join the organization, right? I think it's a good time to reassess timing on that. You don't immediately have to sign it. If you love everything that you read, absolutely go for it. But if you need to take that time, feel free to ask for that time. And again, once you do the signing, understand the training. And the training becomes so important for this to have a successful 90 days, first 90 days. So again, let's make sure we reiterate how important that is and have a good understanding on that. So let's talk about, you got the job, first day on the job, right? Let's have a first 90 days as successful as possible. So you already know so much about the organization, right? You know some people already, you know the hiring manager, maybe that's your direct supervisor. So you also should know what happens on the first day, right? Because you walked away understanding what is the training. Generally, for the most part, you would have an orientation. An orientation can last from 2 hours to a whole week. It really depends on the organization, right? But during that orientation, there's a lot of policies and procedures reviewed to you. It also gives you a lot of details, further details about the work environment, right? So pay attention, take notes. I think that's very reasonable. On your part, bring documentations needed, right? So what are some of the documentation that you may need? Every employer in the US has to verify somebody's eligible to work in the US legally. So documents are usually requested within the first 3 days. So be prepared, make sure you bring those documentations, understand what that means. Meet and greet your team members. I know some folks are very anxious to meeting new people coming into a new industry. You know that's going to happen. Try to work it, work in your mind that this is going to be a new venture. I have to meet new people, and be as open as you can in regards to meeting those individuals, because they're a part of your training. They really may be asking you and teaching you to do certain things. So, obviously you want to start that rapport as positive as possible, right? And then I will always encourage you to ensure that you observe and learn. And what I mean is I tend to see quite a lot of new folks joining the organization. And let's just say my 22 years experience in HR, I have not found the perfect organization. There has been room for improvements. And when I see new hires coming in, they have fabulous ideas. They immediately start seeing things that could be done better. And you know what? Absolutely. But there's a right way to communicate that information. So I want you to learn what the right way looks like, right? You don't want to come across as, wow, Vilma is not flexible at all. She doesn't understand my culture. She brings idea, but she has no clue how the process works, right? So observe and learn. And then once you have that rapport with other individuals and individuals that are able to make changes to those processes, then you can start providing opinions and recommendations, right? But don't do it all right off the bat, okay? Ask again, what does this week look like? Am I going to be meeting all new departments, all new team members? Who am I meeting? There are some companies that want all new hires to meet the CEO of the company. That's fabulous. Not all of companies do that, but don't you want to be forewarned? I'm like, I want to meet the CEO. Oh my gosh, okay, thank you. Or if you're going to meet the president of this organization, right? So have a good understanding what's happening this week so you can become prepared, right? So policies, procedures, and more. Again, take your time to understand what that is. During the orientation, you're going to be provided quite a lot of policies and procedures, more than likely a handbook. Not all the time, but you will have a lot of policies and procedures to read, right? Make sure you understand what that is. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions. Companies want to make sure that you understand what they're thinking or written down for you. So if there's a question or there's got to be some clarification, it is appreciated when folks ask questions. So please don't ever hesitate to have a question or a clarification based on those policies and procedures. Again, it could be standalone procedures, it could be handbooks, standard operating procedures as well. If you have any questions, again, make sure you do. If there is concerns, you should know what the right process of those concerns intake looks like, right? Who do I go to if I have a personnel, safety concern. Who am I supposed to talk to? Again, who you talk to is very important because they are the change manager, right? That's the change individual that may be able to give you the right answer. If I complain to my coworker, I'm just complaining. I might not be getting the right answer. So understand who to go to is going to be very, very essential for you to get the right information, okay? And again, just reiterate, okay, this week just went by. What does next week's look like? Are we meeting, not meeting, so on and so forth. And the observation and learning continues on those 90 days, right? I want you to be open-minded to what you see, the practices that are in place, know who to go to if you have some ideas. I would encourage folks coming into any new organization. Yes, the training is important, but I want to get feedback. So 90 days is a short period of time. I like to get feedback, weekly, bi-weekly, once a month. What's reasonable in that environment? Maybe it's every other week, or maybe it's once a month. Ask your hiring manager, your supervisor, how often would you be getting feedback on your process, on your progress, right? And see, understand that. And that's a good opportunity to reiterate any questions you may have or clarification, but it's also a good opportunity for your supervisor, hiring manager, let you know how you're doing. You need to hear that if you're doing okay, or it could be improved, or, at this stage, we see this to happen, it hasn't happened yet. So you can have the dialogue and ask, well, how can I improve? Is there a solution to that? Or I have an idea how I can get that done, right? I want you also to make an independent assessment of the work environment. When you come in, you're going to come in with a positive attitude. You're going to start building rapport with your colleagues, your co-workers. They may have opinions about the work environment, about people, about managers, about things that are happening. I want you to really assess the work environment with what you are experiencing. Yes, okay, thank you for sharing that with me. I will see how it goes when I tackle that, right? Or that happens. So be aware of others' input. There could be a reason why for that. You don't know their experience. And, gossip does happen. So, I think it's unfortunate, but it does. So therefore, please have a be conscious about making your own assessment. I will live this right now, and you know who to go to in case you have some concerns, as well as some needed clarifications. Now, for employers, you're not off the hook. You also need to understand what that 90 days look like and be committed to have a good process, right? It's not just the candidate and the new employee. Like I said earlier, it's really a partnership. If you're going to have a successful long-term relationship between employees and company, you need to look at that relationship as a true partnership, right? What's in it for both parties? And there's something always in it for both parties. So you have to also assess the first 90 days. Is the onboarding that we currently have in place makes sense? And like I said, things have changed so much in the last 2 years that what happened, what worked 2 years, 3 years ago is not going to work this time around. So reassess your onboarding approach. What does that look like? Make changes as necessary, communicate that change to those that need to know, and make sure the implementation of the change is rolled out as effectively as possible. Reassess your training process. In my experience, every time I might go into a new company or organization, that training usually changes. So the change in training is based on your employees' feedback. So you got to be open with your employees, right? Get them involved. What makes sense? What was successful for them? And make adjustment as needed on that training process, because you're giving the new employee an opportunity to be successful. And then you're also giving the company an opportunity to have a long-term relationship with that employee, right? So make changes as necessary, involve actual practitioners of the process. Is that training in place? Does it make sense? Is it workable? Is it doable? Is it getting what we needed to get that, right? And please also be open-minded to provide feedback and receive feedback as an employer. That means you're open to a new person's feedback. If they see opportunities for improvement, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's see if we can do that, right? Be open to those ideas, because that individual might have had an amazing experience somewhere else, or was so successful somewhere else, and what they're bringing into our organization may improve the overall process and can be a process improvement opportunity, right? But you also need to give feedback to your employees, your new employees. And the feedback for both parties has to be respectful. And even though somebody may not be meeting certain expectations during their training, there is a way to communicate that with the end result of being open to make that person successful. Well, what's it going to take? Let's brainstorm together how we can get you to that needed level of the training, okay? And again, I'm going to leave it with that because I think we're just about done. It's walking away to understanding that it is a true partnership. It's not the employer only and it's not the employee only. It's what's in it for both parties to have a really good understanding how they can successfully have a partnership that can be long-term. So communication is very important, right? And also consistency is extremely important. So it's not just one or the other. It really takes employer and employee to make a partnership successful. And with that, I would like to thank you.
I want to thank you, Vilma. That was awesome. I loved it. I teach this stuff to my clients, and you just kind of covered both sides of it and explained it really well and kept it simple on the PowerPoints. Really thorough job. So I want to thank you for giving your time today. I'm going to open up to questions. I know there was one in the chat that said students and coworkers have asked what is the best strategy for positioning themselves for an interview if they're one of several candidates being interviewed. For example, should they opt for the first interview of the day or the last interview to make a lasting impression?
To be really honest, it shouldn't matter. If you're early morning, afternoon, you are who you are. You bring to the table you. And what you're trying to do is really be yourself, first of all, right? And then be true in regards to why you really want this position, what's in it for me as a candidate, but also what do I have for you, company decision maker, to see that this is a good match.
Excellent. Will you send me your PowerPoint so we can post it on the website along with the recording of this?
I'm more than happy to do that, yes.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have other questions out there? We have 41 people on today. Yes.
So I teach my students how to develop resumes and how to prepare for job interviews. One of the common questions that I get asked often is, how do they ask about salary or what income they're going to be making, especially when it's not listed how much they're going to be getting paid? What would be the best way for them to ask that question?
That's a fair question. Most of the time, the employer usually asks about, about the position. Do you have any questions in the position? If they ask you that at the beginning of the interview, I would encourage that interviewee say, I do have some questions, but I think it's too early on the interview. If you don't mind, I'll hold on to that until towards the end of the interview. And then at the end of the interview, I would say, okay, my question was more about, this is an entry-level position, or I understand that this position is this with this salary or rate of pay. What does that look like for a career path? Or what is the common practices for performance evaluations or merit increases, right? I think that's an extremely fair question. And you can also probe once the employer, the interviewer, may ask about the position. What is your understanding of the position? I'll be fine to say, especially if the company posts that salary range or the pay rate. I just want to reaffirm, hey, I heard of this, my understanding is this role is this, with X amount of experience. And the salary range is depending on experience, or is it at $18 an hour? Just want to understand how the pay structure works for that position.
Thank you.
Other questions? No, everyone's like, I'm hungry. So if you enjoyed Vilma and you thought it was great information, we are doing this every 2 weeks. The link is in and I'll repost it right now. Oh, maybe we have another question.
And I want to see if we could introduce Jackie, one of our board members. I see she added on, and any other board members that didn't introduce themselves earlier today, if they can do so. And I think Jackie has a survey announcement to say as well.
Actually, so another question. Can you talk a bit about Ban the Box? It's a California thing.
Sure. So Ban the Box has been in effect for a couple of years. Ban the Box was literally applications should not have an area where it asks about salary or rate of pay of their previous, employers and things like that. Ban the Box also includes background checks as well. And the background checks, it shouldn't be a deterrent for somebody to have an application and be a candidate. So it is still in effect. And as a matter of fact, it's rolled out to many different states. So if there are some sensitive positions where you gotta have that background check, right? So during an interview, you wanna ask somebody, these are some of the requirements for this position. And I'm gonna go back to like a DOT driver because they're very regulated. And the DOT driver, they gotta do quite a lot of things and background checks are a must. So just to forewarn somebody that that's part of our process, just to let you know on that. Now that individual may offer whatever background they have, right? So if they do, thank you for sharing. We're still going to move forward with that process that we have in place.
Excellent.
I have a question as well. This is Truman Ratcliffe here with Just Us for Youth. I've been working with a lot of clients, and the question came about: is it appropriate to put a profile picture of themselves on a resume? Because with this new day and age, there's a lot of features where resumes are being built, and people are putting like profile pictures to kind of have that image as to who they are, and to be able to represent themselves on a resume as well. Is that appropriate?
I would not recommend that. I would recommend the person's information, no pictures, because it could be, unfortunately, being human beings, it could be a potential issue. This company, they look at me, they're going to see, oh boy, she's not 20. And they might put my resume on the side. Is that legal? No, but I'm not going to give anybody an opportunity to decide on my experience, my knowledge, what I can contribute based on this picture. It's going to be based on my experience, education, and so on and so forth. So I would not encourage it. I would encourage putting the scope or the summary in my resume, a little bit about me, my professional background and experience, and why I think I'm a good fit for that position.
Somebody just asked me a great question, because it happens a lot right now. If your credit is poor due to the pandemic, should we address that during the application or interview?
Well, unless it's a critical position that handles finances or within the finance realm, it's rarely asked from an employer perspective. So when an employer goes out there to apply, credit is not usually a part of the background process unless it's because of a position. So if you're like a CPA or an accountant or controller or something like that, that may be applicable, right? If a company asks for that information, you have to check that you're acknowledging that, but they can't hold that against you unless it's within those type of functionalities I just mentioned.
All right.
Another question as well.
Yes.
Sorry
Go
for all the
for it.
questions. So
That's what we're here for.
towards the end of the online job applications, there's that equal opportunity phase at the end of the application. Does that affect the employees at any way during their application process or in the?
I have not. That is a requirement for certain employers that have either government contract or have a head count. They're required to have an EEOC acknowledgement and tracking. When you have the application, it is just another part of the application process. The hiring manager does not see that. Generally, your HR department is managing that platform, that recruiting platform, and those decision makers not going to see those details.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So someone wants to know, can you touch on the ATS applicant tracking system and what is the best way to ensure it's readable when submitting?
That's depending on the applicant tracking system you're utilizing, right?
Okay.
So based on the platform that you are utilizing, there's certain standards and protocol. You determine that. You have that conversation with the service provider to see what that looks like. There may be, some accessibility to different keywords that you're looking for, or things like that. I mean, platforms are very smart nowadays, but they're smart because you, the employer, are assessing what you're looking for in those resumes. So there is quite a few different platforms out there. You gotta have a little more understanding how you can set that protocol up.
Hi, this is Jackie Kennedy Harris. Can I just jump in and make a comment in regards to that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So I've been told that with the applicant tracking system that it needs to be very kind of generic, if you will, as possible, because it is picking up keywords, but things like someone mentioned pictures earlier or bullet form. Sometimes it doesn't format it the correct way, and then it's not submitted, in totality. So is it better just to make it more generic so that it will, because as an applicant, I'm not going to know what platform they're using, right? So would you say it's better just to have a generic resume with information on there that will suffice for all of the applicant tracking systems?
So anytime there is an applicant, applicant platform that is doing some of the reading, it's based on the job that is being posted, right? So if somebody's building a resume for, and I go back to HR because I've been in HR forever, for an HR position, all my related experience should be detailed about my HR experiences or education, right? Now, if I've had other jobs in the last 10 years that are not HR related, as a candidate, if I'm applying for an HR role, I'm going to make an assessment. Should I put those experiences in there or not? Because if they're not even relevant to the HR experience needed, I probably won't, because that may reflect negatively in the applicant entry. Might be picking up she was an engineer and now she's going to, maybe not. But be factual. The resume needs to have listing your experiences that are going to be a good match to the position that you are applying for. If you're going for a career change, hey, this is the career I've had. That's why the summary is so important, or the cover letter.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? I know I want to respect everyone's time. Some of us probably getting a little hungry. So I invite you to, I want to thank you again, Vilma. You did a great job. Everyone's chats, everyone's like, agreeing you did great. I invite all of you to register for our next one in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about your personal brand and marketing from Sergio Baez. And then if you enjoyed today, we have our state conference coming. It's a 2-day virtual conference, the end of April, I believe, right? I have so many dates, so many conferences coming up. It's only $50, 2 days online. So it'll be interactive. We'll have great presenters. We have raffle prizes. We got a DJ. It'll be fun. So I invite you to, those links are in the chat. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
I think Jackie's going to make an announcement. Jackie.
Yeah, you're thinking my mind, Rosalinda. Yeah, thank you guys for being on the webinar today. We would really appreciate it if you would please fill out the survey that you'll receive shortly. Your feedback is greatly important to us. Thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I truly enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah. And on behalf of the
pleasure.
California Placement Association, we want to thank all of you that have joined us here today. We appreciate your flexibility with a little bit of the Zoom tech hiccups that we had, but thank you for making the time to be here. And if you're interested in presenting, I'd like to do that. We have calls and proposals for the conference coming up. Let us know in the chat if you're interested in doing a presentation on one of our upcoming webinars. And we would be happy to connect with you as well, because a lot of you have a lot of great expertise that you can share best practices with everybody throughout the state. So thank you so much. Greg?
And even here on a webinar in 2 weeks, my email I just put in, it's gfriedman@mca.org. If you would like to present, or you know somebody who's got some great information or is an expert on a subject of workforce of any way related, we'd love to have them. So yeah, reach out to me.
Oh, wait,
With
we're
that,
forgetting our
yeah.
LinkedIn photos. All right, really quick, let's go on video. I'm gonna do, there's 3 pages. I'm gonna do 3 pages of LinkedIn photos. Let's get our thumbs up for those of you that are interested in being on LinkedIn so we can celebrate.
Hi, my name is Luis Suburbia, and I work with the Merced County Office of Education, and I'm a proud member of California Placement Association.
Hi, my name is Greg Friedman. I work with Merced County Office of Education. I'm a proud member of the CPA Northern Region.
Hi, my name's Denise Crawford, and I work at Bakersfield College, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association Central Region.
Hi, I'm Rosalinda Rivas, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association.